I'm going to show you guys how to make a Fallout cosplay baseball grenade out of a foam baseball. But first, it's Nuka time. That's radioactive. Alright, what we're working with today is just a foam practice T-ball from Walmart. They're in the sporting goods section, and they genuinely only cost, I think, $3.50. Sticking an X-Acto knife right into it to use it as a handle while I paint, using Plaid Effects Flex Paint in white, and here I'm putting on my first coat, just laying it on thick and making sure I get good coverage, because there's lots of little pores and stuff. It is molded after a real baseball, so where the leather would be laced into the protective cover, there's little holes, and I think that's pretty neat because it does sell the realism. This is the second coat. I'm going to do one more coat of white, and then we'll go on to the other colors. Here I'm taking a look at one of the props that I originally built this year, and just picking out the foam scraps that I'm going to use to make that little blasting cap. It actually looks like the back of a shotgun shell in the game, and I'm making that out of foam, just like I did there. I tried using a Nuka cap to size it up, and it was actually a little too big, so I had to take it over to the sander and cut it down. Now I'm very carefully cutting it right in half here, so that it's a little bit thinner, and I'm going to add an extra layer of 2mm foam to make it pop out, and also it'll allow me to go ahead and use a brass tube, which I filed down to a good point, which you'll see in a minute, and put that perfect circle right in the middle for where the primer would be for this grenade device. Here I am grabbing that tube and just making sure that I have the right size to make that little hole, and I just press it in about halfway through the foam. Now I'm taking some super glue and I'm going to lay down a bead around here and spread it out with the tip, not squeezing too much, and press down that 2mm foam so it sticks in all directions. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick the little stem here on the bottom. Here I'm just bonding it together with a little more super glue, put it together and press real hard, and get a good bond. And then I see it's a little big, so I go over to the grinder and cut it down again, and now it's a little bit closer. Taking a nail file to get rid of any of the fuzzies, and just giving it some texture. Checking it again with the brass tube that I made to make sure that that hole is good and prominent. Hit it with the heat gun, and now I'm going to Mod Podge it. This part is up for your artistic interpretation. I'm using 2mm foam scraps to make the pin for the grenade. All you need to do is basically make a little ring with 2 pieces bent over it. You could use 1 piece, but I like the extra character that it gives. It almost looks like it's an industrial pin that maybe belonged to something else, that it was scavenged to make the pin for this grenade. Here you see me using super glue, and I'm also using the back of the X-Acto blade to push things together in tight spaces, and that's one of the things that I've been trying to do as a maker, is get less super glue on my fingers, because there's nothing worse than trying to work with detailed parts and knives when you have super glue over your fingertips, and makes holding things a little bit harder. Here I'm adding a piece of material that's going to be the little loop over where the ring goes through, and then I'm fattening up the neck of that stem, because I thought it needed a little something, and you know, why not? It's the Wasteland. You have to make things and make do, and not everyone's going to be 100% exactly the same. There's no manufacturing. Matte blackwash time over 3 coats of the white flex paint. And you'll see that not every spot is perfect, but that's okay because it's going to get so many layers of weathering and paint that it's going to cover up anything that you might see exposed through. This is just 1-to-1 water to black acrylic paint from Plaid, and I'm just using a paper towel that I've crumpled up and wiping it off as I put it on. I let it dry for just a little bit so that it gets in all the pores and molded cracks, and just going over again, trying to really get in those threads, like I said, because they molded it off of a real baseball. So you've got the puncture points of into the leather where the ball would be bound together. Now it's starting to look like something, but it's still way too white, so I'm going to keep going over that with some of this and using a different brush to get into all the little pores and little spots, and layering it on thick and laying it on thinner in some areas, because in the universe nothing is uniform unless it's man-made, and while the baseball's man-made, I want it to look rugged and it's experienced 500 years of sitting. Here I am taking a red paint marker and just going over the already embedded stitching that's on the ball, and this gives it that real baseball look, and it already starts to pop, and you just follow the ridges in there. Now I'm going over it again with a black wash because that red is really bright and it's also glossy, and we don't want a glossy set of threads on an old baseball. Covering up all these layers of grime with more grime really does sell the depth. Now here I am taking some more Plaid effects. I believe I'm going to be using green, yellow, and brown for these steps, and it's just splotching on little areas and then going over with some black. Green because I figured baseball in the ball field, I remember when I was a kid, we'd hit the ball so hard that it would pick up grass stains, just like you would if you tripped and fell and skinned your knee on the grass. You'd have those gross grass stains. And some yellow because it's the wasteland. Why not? Some browns. And again, I'm just using that black wash to soften the brightness of the colors, to take some of it. Here I'm just painting that cap up silver because we've already Mod Podged it, so it's got a great base. And the silver goes on really easy, and this is Plaid Effect Silver. It's got that flexible nature to it, which is good because we're using foam. Here I'm using the Folk Art Metallics to just put a dot right in the primer cap there and spread that around so it looks like a realistic one. Then I'm using their Painted Finishes lined rust system, both parts, and I'm just layering it on there because it's Fallout, and anything metal is going to have a bit of rust and a bit of tarnish, even if it should be quote-unquote brand new and manufactured like these baseball grenades are. Here I'm taking some super glue and I'm giving it full contact and pressing it down to make sure it sits, and then I'm going to take some Plaid FX paints that are in the brown variety and just dab some on there and give it some more dirt over top of the greens and the black washes, and keep giving it character. And I do a little bit of that off screen because I forgot I was recording, to be quite honest. Here I am taking the black wash, then I remembered I was filming, so I put it back in camera view. Now we're going to go ahead and finish this key up with some Plaid Effects Silver, getting that on there in different layers, in different areas. I'm leaving some of it a little bit more exposed and some not. Taking some more of that rust and adding some runs on this part, basically because that's what happens. Rust runs over things and it will stain organic stuff, but as I'm working, I'm still thinking like, this ball is way too clean. I'm going to need to do a little more work. So again, I'm using that Painted Finishes here to put rust on that grenade pin, and just making it look lived in the world. Now I'm securing it with a drop of super glue because I don't want to be able to pull that out. Now the pin is glued in, and again I wasn't happy with how white the ball is, so using some matte Mod Podge and a little bit of black wash, I go over the ball and then I just start wiping it away with a paper towel until I'm happy with how shady and dark and dirty it looks, and it still looks like a baseball, and that's what I'm going for. So here comes the finished product. Last but not least, don't forget to weather around the neck of the primer. And here we have it, a Fallout-inspired baseball grenade prop. It is a cosplay prop. It's rubber. It's not going to hurt anybody. See all that flex and squeeze? Yeah, if you guys are making a fan film or something, you can continue to make the pin removable. I glued it into place just to make sure it's not going anywhere. This is the one that I made earlier in the year, and I think this is a real improvement on that. So, if you like what I'm doing, please hit the thumbs up. I appreciate it if you're a subscriber. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Hope you guys have an excellent time. Leave a comment below if you want to see more videos like this, and I will catch you in the next one. I'm gonna go play with my balls.